Even with my 3-month absence, the big three here on the PHLY Sixers podcast had better success.
Hey, you're not allowed to make jokes about it. We can.
In year
That's
one.
That's not how this goes.
Then the other three.
No, you're placing the big three over there.
That are wearing the Sixers uniform this season for the first time together. How will they improve? What do they need to improve in order for that to be a successful year in year two and get to the postseason and maybe even contend in the East? Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Wednesday with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens, Bree producing all of you in the chat. And yes, I made a joke about myself and Kyle took it away from me. So,
just like I do most of your airtime around here.
But we have to talk about the big three. And look, just to be transparent, Kyle, so let's talk about the real big three of McCain, Bona, and Grimes. We can make it four with Edwards.
The future, baby.
Yeah, with Edwards or even the top 6 pick of the real big three. Yeah, the big four. Sorry, Jared McCain has always talked about
that. Lasted for about a week until McCain got injured.
Exactly right. So we'll talk about all that. And I'm going to force myself, even though we went extended overtime in this one and on Monday, force myself to remember to have Derek do the Tankathon daily spin that we have neglected for the first 2 days of the week.
What is going on here?
So disappointed.
So we're 3 in the hole?
It's on me. It's on me.
I'm very disappointed I didn't get a chance to let you all down yesterday, so I will do my best.
Let's open the show with a tank. We got to get one in.
One to start,
and then we'll get
one in the middle.
More. Yeah, there you go.
All right, so Derek, let's start the show.
Get on it, Derek.
With the daily Tankathon spin from Monday since we have missed the last 2 days. Six.
All right.
I kept it.
All right. I think I know where you might be leaning now since we talked about that pregame.
Who are you taking?
Who are we assuming is off the board?
The normal four. The fifth one is really difficult.
Yeah.
Let's say for the sake of argument, Trey Johnson off the board.
Ooh, I think that's who I was going to go with at 6. So Trey at 5. So to me, it's between Khan and Yakachunas. And I've been on the Yakachunas bandwagon for a long time, even though I get he really struggled down the stretch. I don't want to ignore those faults. I am really debating how much is that just a stylistic preference and a thing that we haven't had here in so long. I might go Khan.
I actually think I'm sort of there, but there is a wild card that Devon and I talked about before the show.
I can't completely give up Yakachunas just because I really do appreciate that level of a passer, and I wouldn't mind having one. And I do believe in the shot. I know he struggled shot, I think 33% on a year. A lot of them are really tough, high volume, step back variety. I think when he gets a little more help around him and in NBA spacing, he'll be okay in that regard. But a lot of the athletic concerns are 100% valid. 100%.
All right. Well, we got our one spin in. Now let's talk about
who's your other one that you would
I'm going to save that for our later discussion. Maybe we'll even do a mini pod on this exact idea.
Maybe we'll do that.
We'll see.
Maybe we'll do that. We'll get another spin mid-show and then our final spin for the Wednesday, of course, later on in the show. But we got to start off talking about the big three that they were called at the beginning of the season. Once the offseason got underway, Paul George was signed, sealed, and delivered, and it looked really promising even with the concerns of Embiid coming off the Olympics. It looked real good for the 76ers. It did not turn out that way for the 76ers, as we all know, as they finished with a 24-58 record and one of the most disappointing seasons in NBA history, as Kyle talked about running that one. For Tyrese Maxey, he played 52 of the 82 for the 76ers. Embiid, as we know, 19 of the possible 82. And George, 41 of the 82 in his first year in the Sixers uniform. Did not go according to plan for the big three. Some things need to happen, though. So Tyrese Maxey led the team in scoring with 26 in his 52. He would have played more had they had a real shot of doing something in the postseason, of not just getting into the play-in tournament. He most likely would have played more even with the bad pinky, or just addressed that issue and gotten back on the floor when they ramped it up. As we know how they say it, once they really got into what was going to happen, knowing their seeding, what they were playing for in the playoffs, if they were going to make a significant run. shut him down. It made sense. The same thing with Paul George, and we know Embiid was shut down pretty early. So he averaged 26, 6 assists, 3 boards, 1.8 steals, where he was in the mix all season long of being in the conversation as one of the top steal leaders in the NBA. Paul George just really couldn't find his footing all season, and we know Joel Embiid, despite his 23.8 in his 19 games, he was never Joel Embiid really all year long. So some things have to change, though. Injuries, yes, we know. The health, that's number one. So we're going to take health off the table for all 3 of them because we know for any NBA season that health is the determining factor of what your season is going to look like. That was a big part of the exit interviews for not only the players, but the coach and the president of basketball operations when talking about Embiid and the rest of the players. So where we start here today, Kyle, with the big 3, though, looking at them, what do you look at? Let's start with the big fella, since we got into the conversation with him a lot yesterday. What does he have to change or adjust coming into next year, year 2, hoping to stay on the floor healthy, and at number 1, as we said, but even with the unknown about the knee and what he's going to look like, what does he have to change and adjust for them to be the big 3 that they thought they were going to be when he convinced Paul George to sign?
Well, first of all, I'm going to break the only rule that you set out. The health has to be the starting point, right?
It does.
Who are the guys who played the most games for the Sixers this year? Ricky Council IV, Gershon Yabusele, and Kelly Oubre. Adem Bona in 4th.
With 58.
Maxey in 5th with 52 games played. Now, look, I do think it's a little exaggerated with Maxey and PG, where if this was a better season, they would have played more games. You're playing through injury, and whether we call it injury, ailment, whatever it might be, those numbers are a little bit. But that's where it has to start, right? And so where I would say with Joel, because we can't say, hey, make sure that knee is fixed, right? I don't think we believe that is possible. It starts where we've talked about quite a bit over the last couple of years, which is he has to be in the absolute best shape that he can possibly be. And whatever that requires is what he has to do. I've brought up, and he actually name dropped Tim Duncan last year, but I brought up many times Tim Duncan later in his career as he dealt with knee problems, embracing swimming, right? Like doing more low impact cardio to keep himself in shape, but also not put a lot of stress and unnecessary wear and tear on his lower extremities. So it's that, right? He brought up diet prior to last season where he's like, I'm on a new diet, I'm taking supplements, I'm doing this. He's got to lock in on that, right? That can't just be, hey, it's mid-April right now and we get to training camp in October. Now's the time to lock in, right? Those habits have to be set and established over the next 6 months or so, where by the time the season starts, you guys know we talk about our diets, right? And our choices, our sleep, our things that happen during the season where we say,
a lot of bad choices.
If you're not already in good habits when the season starts, an NBA season will unravel most of what you do, right? Because you're at the arena late at night. It changes your sleep schedule. There are times when we're here covering breaking news or we're on the go and we got to all of a sudden go to the practice facility, do this. So it's like, I was going to make myself a good, maybe sort of healthy lunch. Instead, I'm at the drive-through at whatever fast food restaurant is convenient because
Kyle calls me up there. Can you pick up some Wendy's on the way back?
Please get me some onion rings and chicken fries from Burger King. Like whatever suits the job. But that's because in many cases, those habits were not established when we had the time, the resources, and the brain power to commit to it. So what I would say to Joel first and foremost is this whole summer, and we're not even in summer yet, we're in mid-April. But from mid-April until training camp opens, he has to be absolutely laser focused on, I know right now it's the knee rehab, the post-surgery rehab and working with the doctor up in New York. And that is first and foremost. But everything else from there has to be, I'm setting habits every single day that are going to carry me not just through next season, but through the rest of my career, right? That has to be, it's got to be survival mode for him, right? Because we just don't know how or if he's going to be able to reclaim his physicality and the athleticism that he's had. So you just have to go back to basics and say, my diet, my weight routine, my cardio, whatever it is, that's got to be it's an all-encompassing package before you ever play a game. He's got to be just locked in on that.
So I don't even look at that one as just the health part of the knee. Like I said, exclude the knee because we know the injuries and all. That's just the mindset of him locking in on making sure that as he came into the season and told everybody at that press conference that he had on Media Day where he talked about as the season ended against the New York Knicks last year in the postseason, he called up the general president of basketball operations and Daryl Morey and said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm in the best shape possible for next season. He lost 25, 30 pounds, he said. You can look at him and tell that he was different.
I do. We all thought he was in
looked different.
Pretty good shape this year coming in.
So that part, control what you can control. He can control that of what his eating habits are and what his workout routine is versus what he does with his knee. That's another conversation that we can get into about adjusting his mindset on that. But it is a mindset to make sure that you do eat right. Like you said, we talk about habits. We've been talking, especially me and you this week, about certain things.
We're in our off-season training mode,
yes,
right?
We
Getting
are.
up early. I'm making real breakfast to start the day.
And I'm like, yo, I need to do this and all of that. But yeah, that's the mindset that he has to have that has nothing to do with the knee, but making sure that he is out there and putting his best foot forward of making sure that if it's another 10 pounds that he needs to lose, or while he's rehabbing, you know how you sit around too long, you put on some LBs. Instead of putting on those LBs, make sure he's eating the right thing. I remember the story always when he was not playing yet. And I remember from some information that I had, and it later came out about him and how they would fill up his fridge, and he would never go in the fridge and eat the things that he was supposed to eat. They would come back to restock his fridge, and it would be the same good food, healthy foods in there.
Buddy, I wish somebody would come and restock my fridge with already ready food. Right. I don't have to even cook it. That'd be beautiful.
It was just like Booth says, no more Chick-fil-A, all that stuff. I don't know that he does it as much anymore, but then that's what it was. So the sacrifice and understanding what he can control to make sure that he's available, Derek, to get out there and play healthy because the knee is working out, but also that his body is right to at least adjust to whatever the knee is.
Yeah. And that's a good way of phrasing it, control what you can control, because he can come out here and do all of that, and it still might not matter. He still might go out there and not be able to play more than 2 or 3 games in a row because that's the condition that the knee is at. But give yourself the best possible chance. Like you said, control what you can control. I'm in 100% agreement there.
Yeah, just go out there and do that. And it starts there. And that's where the mindset goes because he's going to have to make adjustments, we think, where you guys talked about it. Even though we've been together for a while now, the first 3 months that I missed, and I had to watch you guys talk about the start of the season, you guys talked about, especially taking down some of his numbers where he doesn't need to average 33 to 35. He might not be able to average 33 and 35 anymore, where now he has to really adjust of how he's going to play to still be effective enough to dominate, but in a different way. If we give him the credit of being a smart basketball player, the smart basketball player extends even when you get older and not become one of those players like Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, all these older players that don't accept that you have to make the change and it's too late. You brought up the Iverson example yesterday where you have to accept it. You cannot allow it to get too far where it's too late. And then you're looking back on your career and saying, what could I have done? Well, it's staring him right in the face right now, I think, with how this may have to go down this offseason.
Well, and that's where I was going to go. Like, I want him to embrace, I don't want to say an off-ball role, but certainly like his primary objective next year, I think, is to free people and get them open looks. And I think what you got to take a step back from, maybe go back to a play style a little more akin to how he played with JJ Redick. Maybe it's a lot of dribble handoffs. Maybe that's just really committing yourself to setting quality screens. But not everything needs to be a pick and roll pocket pass, although they didn't do a whole ton of that this year, and it would be nice to see him get back into a little bit more of a flow.
He wasn't out there to do it.
Well, that's fair. That's a fair point. But like using your gravity and using your attention to create space for your teammates and also not necessarily dominate the ball. Like, it doesn't need to slow down the way it previously did. I do think he was better at that early on. It helps when you have someone of JJ Redick's skill set, even at times of Seth Curry's skill set, although he wasn't quite as much a DHO guy. He wanted to play more pick and roll. But you have two guys in Maxey and McCain who I think have versatile enough shots they can grow into being utilized like that, I would like to do that because I don't want to be everything to be, throw it in Joe at the nail and then wait and wait and wait and wait. That's not necessarily my preferred style of play, just point blank. But when you have somebody as capable as he was over the last 5 years, you understood and you lived with it. But now that he's more uncertain, now that he's more out of the lineup, now that he's not able to do what he previously could, especially as a driver, and I think that's taken away a lot of that sort of like face-up game is because he's not that threat to if you close out too hard, if you're on him too aggressively, he's not going to blow by you like he previously did. I want to see him do more as a screener and specifically in DHOs.
You know what else I want to see from him while we're on some of the it's not non-basketball, but like skill work type of stuff is I need him to be focused as a leader for these young guys too. And like embrace that idea of, he did a really good job of building that relationship with Tyrese Maxey, right? Like he's a kid who came in, he saw that he was a hard worker, saw that he, frankly, was a very good talent and prospect and all that, and really took to him and built a relationship and a friendship. And I think you've seen that impact how good they've become together basketball-wise, right? Like him having some trust in Tyrese and Tyrese rewarding that and continuing to work and continuing to do things, that's opened up the world for both of them, right? There's a reason that we talked so much about this is the best partnership that Joel has had because the synergy is just off the charts. Well, they're in a different spot than he and the team probably thought they were going to be in a year and a half ago, wherever it is, where they might be introducing a top 5, top 6 pick into the rotation. That's a guy that you're going to have to spend significant time, resources, energy, effort developing and bringing along. You have Jared McCain, who had a really promising start to his rookie year, but now is coming off of the meniscus injury. What does he look like? How does that impact his game? What do you have to do for him? Adem Bona is a young big that, like, he's talked about. Andre Drummond, I think, has been a mentor for him. Maybe not so much Joel Embiid. And I think in many different ways, whether it's, getting in extra reps in the gym with these guys, if it's just pulling guys aside and being more of the vocal, like, hey, I think you should do X, Y, Z. And it's not to say he doesn't do this stuff, right? During exit interviews, there were guys, including Tyrese Maxey, who said, no, I was proud of Joe for what he did while not being able to play. Like, he made a point of saying that during this exit interview process, and that's a good thing to hear. But I think they are in a spot where if they are going to be younger, if they are going to try to say, hey, we're going to build out the depth, but that comes with these guys will go through growing pains. These guys will struggle. And I think he's got to have his mind on, I know we need to win now. And like the record matters, playoff positioning matters, all that. But he's got to understand as a 31-year-old who's won an MVP and done all this stuff, that those guys are going to look to you, whether it's body language, workout habits, all this stuff. He has to carry himself as the face of the organization that he is. I think we see that more frequently and more consistently from Maxey. So I'd like to see Joel get there because I do think his head and his heart are in the right place. He wants to win. He wants to do the right things. And I think at times, like anybody, he's not perfect, but I think he has to be closer to perfect and understand that his actions and the way he carries himself reflect and are received by all these young guys that they need to help him win.
To a lesser extent, you can even, when they had that thrift shopping thing on the Sixers social account where Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid were thrift shopping, and he said, we got to get something for Justin.
And I loved seeing that.
Yeah.
I loved seeing that.
Right. Pointing out, again, an undrafted guy, but a guy that he is being at his retirement at Emotep for his jersey, showing up for him, and at least based on the video, it was just him and Nurse.
That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like that stuff matters. It might not, that's not putting points on the scoreboard. It's not changing the health of his knee, but showing up for people at their events, at their, when they're being honored, if they have a family issue, whatever it is, when you're present for people, that matters in any context. But when it's in a context where you're traveling around the country with these guys 82 nights a year and you're away from your families and you have to build a real bond with these people, all those little things matter a lot. And I think he's gotten better at it, but I would challenge him, take even another step up next year.
And he did it at training camp with Jared McCain when we were all standing there like, what?
Yeah, and we thought he was lying to us and just trying to gas up the rookie. No, it turns out he was actually
He was
actually
telling
right
the truth.
Yeah, he really was. So,
And I do think I think Kyle's right. I think that's an area where he's grown over the years. Like early in his career, in part because he's probably just an introvert and didn't necessarily want to go to these types of things. But I think he's always been like, we can sit here and nitpick, and it's not really nitpick. Like his body language is frustrating at times. Certainly, like being late to some practices, there are things he's not great at. But I think for the most part, like you don't have very many players who just hate him or dislike him as a human being. And I think that's translated more often over the last couple of years to things like Kyle mentioned, and you'd like to see that trend continue.
The one thing on your point of the put the ball on the floor and drive to the basket and finish anymore like that, if that explosiveness is not there, he's still good enough of a jump shooter where he should allow the jump shot to then open that back up for him because of the jab step. He may not get them off like he used to pull back, but the jump shot is the jump shot. So if you keep making it, they're going to have to respect it. That's when maybe it's a little bit closer than it used to be at the 17-foot range. Maybe it has to be at 15. So he can just maybe take one dribble and get to the basket and then do all that. But that's just the work that he's going to have to put in with whether it's the Sixers coaches or Drew Hanlon or whomever, that he's going to have to look at that and understand, watching Tim Duncan film and understanding that, maybe I have to move in just a tad bit closer when I do that. So when I do put the ball on the floor, that one dribble, one long step to the basket and not give myself up, maybe I'll be able to still finish through contact like I used to.
Yeah, and it is,
And the layup, and not just going for dunk, just lay it up.
You bring up the 15-footer. It does seem like every time he gets injured, it's on a move where he has multiple dribbles. I have always been, and it's half in jest, but like a one dribble drive sounds perfect to me.
One dribble.
But you mentioned...
Unless it's one dribble from the top of the key and he's trying to take off.
That's why I said 15, man.
15 and in.
15 and in.
But I mentioned the drive, and I don't know how much of it is the athleticism and how much of it is the confidence in the knee.
Yeah.
He just seemed hesitant. He seemed like he didn't really trust it. He seemed like that was the specific kind of play where he didn't want to push his luck. And I don't know if that changes with another offseason of work. I don't know how much of that, like I said, is lost athleticism that he'll never get back. How much is confidence that he needs to be able to trust that knee, and he clearly didn't last year.
Oh, I got more, man. The step back where he can do that still, even if it is the 15, but the 15, do it, step back. Now you're probably right back at your window. You live right there. And you even talked about him taking more threes to allow that to open things up.
Well, he has. I think he was trying to. You saw it in some flashes, but he just didn't play enough games. I agree. The sentiment of, I think one of the biggest problems was the hesitation, right? Like there were times where he's doing the jab stepping. He's making the same moves that he was generally making against, we're talking about guys that he used to kill, right? Like Daniel Gafford or like whoever. I'm just, making up names here. But guys who he would match up against, and it's like
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner is a perfect example of a very good player who he just ate his lunch every time.
Yeah.
And you're watching him go through the motion, and it's like, that's not Joel, man. Like he was so deep in his head. And so that is it's going to require some physical improvement. It's also just going to require Joel repping and playing and just being out there enough to like get past that mental hurdle, right? Where it's even if you can't go past someone as quickly, you are a big guy. It should be, and it is hard to block your shot. You can execute it. It's just removing that, whatever that was that he had for the games we saw him last year.
Absolutely. And we have two more guys to talk about as part of the Big Three. And we'll do that when we get back as we keep it going here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Wednesday. As we've talked about these injuries and how they ruin the basketball season for your professional team, well, let's talk about getting back to what you love if some of those injuries are bothering you at Rothman Orthopedics. If you're a weekend warrior and are just trying to keep up with the family members, the little ones running around overall, well, your body doesn't cooperate. You need to get it checked out. That's where Rothman Orthopedic does, in fact, come in. Whether it's pain from playing your favorite sport, an old injury overall that you just it caught up to you just because you're getting a little bit up there in age, Rothman's team of experts is here to help with evidence-based care and a mission to restore your mobility They'll get you back on your feet and back to doing what you love. Don't let pain hold you back. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to schedule your appointment today and get back on your feet so you can be your best self. I've done it myself. I think I might be getting ready to play some 5-on-5 basketball because of Rothman Orthopedics.
Hashtag the return.
The return. Make that a thumbnail. Rothman Orthopedics, where getting you back to your game is the mission.
We already have the sizzle reel.
I forgot about that. That was fantastic.
For more information, visit rothmanortho.com/landing/PHLY.
You know who also has a sizzle reel? That's our good friends at Ashley Furniture, where the low prices are blooming. Yes, guys, it's springtime. So you want to spring into savings at Ashley. Save up to 50% off a living room, bedroom, and dining room furniture, and have it all delivered free. Plus, you can get long-term, no-interest financing. You can save on top-brand mattresses, get free delivery, setup, and removal. And let me tell you, as somebody who lives in a Philadelphia home, that there are some narrow corridors. It's tough getting stuff upstairs. That free delivery, setup, and removal is absolutely priceless. So don't wait. Spring into savings now at Ashley, South Jersey, and in Philadelphia. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Wednesday as we talk about the big three and the changes that need to be made in order for them to participate in these playoffs that are already underway with the play-in, and will the big playoffs start over the weekend. They are not a part of it for the first time in 16-17, and it's not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. So let me also tell you, though, make sure we get this in as we talk about a lot of things. We got a big summit coming up tomorrow with the football guys, Anthony Gargano and Fran Duffy. That's going to be in Manayunk.
We will be there.
JD McGillicuddy's at 111 Cotton Street. As Kyle said, we will be there. We hope to see you all there. Go to our events page at allphly.com and find the events. Hit the drop-down box, and you'll see what the schedule looks like right there on the events tab to have yourself and some others. It's going to be in the evening, 6 to 8. You can come out there and join us. It's right after work. You know what? I'm going to JD McGillicuddy's and find out what's going on, because the draft is a week away, and you want to be up on everything. Yes, you watch the shows, but you want to be able to talk to Fran and Anthony in person, talk to Kyle and Derek about what's going on as well, and we can do all that tomorrow for the summit, the draft summit, tomorrow at JD McGillicuddy's in Manayunk. Hope to see you all there. All right, let's get to the next guy. We brought him up briefly yesterday because he wasn't really on should he stay or should he go? But we did talk about him to start the show off, and that's the all-star Tyrese Maxey at the point guard position. As Kyle said, he played, 52 games this season. He led the team in scoring, had the pinky injury at the end, had some struggles there where Rich was really getting destroyed for it. And then he bounced back and had one of his best months in the month, that stretch of 25 to 30 games where he was really, really good for the Sixers. And then he went down. Of course, he did all he could to keep them above water, but it didn't work out. Are there some things that you would like to see him change for next season with those other two?
Slipped up. He made one appearance on our version of who he played for, and he almost said Tyrese Martin. That was I caught that, which I didn't know until after we did that thing. Tyrese Martin is from Allentown.
I said that.
I did not know that.
I said that day.
Did you say it?
Yeah. See how they listen to me, folks. They don't even listen when I'm talking, although they are typing a lot when I'm saying some stuff. But yes, he's a local guy.
I might have just forgotten it. I might have heard it at the time. You never know.
It's all right.
No, I didn't realize that. No, I mean, for me, the jump that Tyrese Maxey needs to make is a jump he's needed to make over the last 3 years, and that's passing and playmaking. And that's becoming even more of a thing now that Joel Embiid, my entry in our last segment was I don't want to dump the ball in Joel Embiid every trip down the floor. Yep. Well, if you're going to do that, Tyrese Maxey has to be a capable playmaker and a really, really good, not only advantage creator for himself, but able to create shots for his teammates. And he still just misses passes that a really elite point guard makes. And, part of it is at being 6'2". Tyrese famously doesn't want to be called a short guard. Unfortunately, we have to be objective. You're kind of short for a guard.
Which Jared referenced back to at exit interviews, which was very funny.
So it's going to be a struggle at times for him to see over the top of the defense. But there's still just instinctive passes that he needs to grow. It is only his, last year was only his second year as a full-time point guard. So like, you give him a little bit of leeway for that. But I really need a better creator.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. So I'll go in a slightly different but similar direction. I think the big key for him next season is going to be moving fluidly between the different responsibilities that he has to carry, right? Where I felt like a lot of the problem for him this past season was he was either in facilitator mode or he was in downhill attacking, scoring Tyrese Maxey mode, right? And so while that, you can have success playing that way, right? Because he's a very talented and dynamic scorer. So if you just say, I'm putting my head down and I'm looking to score for the next 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, you're going to put points on the board. You're probably going to go on some nice runs. But like defenses can eventually react to that. They'll say, well, he clearly isn't looking to pass. And there were times like that this season. And they overplayed him as a scorer, and he didn't adjust well to it. Now, that January stretch, the 20 games, whatever it was, that was when he finally started to get into the, okay, they're overplaying me like this. I make this read. If they're giving me this opening, I'm taking that. And he certainly had spurts where that was the case, and he looked like the lead guard you want him to be. But I thought for too much of the season, it was one or the other. Either you're getting 30 points, but he's not really looking to score, or maybe he's scoring 20, but he's got 8 assists. And like, I think he can do it all, right? He is such a dynamic off-ball threat as a shooter and scorer that there's no reason that he can't hit these, 25, 26 points a game while keeping the playmaking up and while being a constant threat to do anything on the floor, right? To not be someone who teams can sit back and say, oh, if he's going this way, I know he's doing this. I know he's looking for this specific read. He's just got to, and I don't know how to advance that, right? Like, it is one of the hardest jumps to make. And I know he's worked on it. He talked about, I think at Media Day last year, about, going through passing reps, like having guys, his friends in these workouts, friends, teammates, whoever, to just like, hey, you're a second or third guy jumping into a passing lane to get in my way, to cloud my vision. How do I react to that? So because he's going to share the floor with Jared McCain, with a Quentin Grimes, and potentially with a top 6 pick who I think there's a decent chance it could be a guard, he is going to have to move in and out of responsibilities fairly often. And I know he can do it. We've seen him do it. We saw him play off of James Harden. We saw him have some success next to Jared McCain. But that, for me, I think is going to be the biggest challenge for him, because he, for all intents and purposes, is the leader of this team right now because he's more often available than Joel Embiid and Paul George, and because he's got the ball in his hands a lot. So he has to set an example as a playmaker and just a decision maker overall. That's going to largely determine the ceiling of this team.
So that's where I was going to go. As you said, he's largely the face of the franchise, or the most available one that is, of the All-Stars that are there, that he has to, because for the past couple of years, while we've seen the glimpses, just taking it back to some of the stuff that he did against the Knicks, some of the stuff that he did against the Boston Celtics, like mainly that Game 5 where he and Embiid went off together. But if Embiid is no longer Embiid, and he talked about it in the exit where he would give Joel the ball, and Joel just couldn't do the things that you were talking about, where maybe it was a mental thing, the knee wouldn't allow him, and he couldn't do it, and we didn't see it. That's probably what we're going to see a decent amount, where sometimes Joel is not that guy. So when Joel will make that thing of that declaration that he is the franchise player, while he's not technically the franchise player, he's kind of the franchise player now. So he needs to elevate himself with everything that Kyle and Derek just said, of no longer being the number 2, but he has to be the 1B to what Joel is as the 1 now at this stage of his career. This is going to be year number 6, I believe, for him. Yep. We've seen a lot of success leading into an all-star berth, conversation about all-NBA, big playoff performances that he has had, but we have yet to really see him without Joel carried enough where they can still pile up wins when he has been out. Now, he has done so on the floor with Joel because the gravity is such if Joel still has to be accounted for while he's out there on the floor. but Tyrese Maxey has to elevate himself into that role of what Joel has been calling him, what many have been asking of him, and what many have quite frankly said he is not there yet. This is year 6 again. So with it, he has to be the one, because Paul George at 35, while he still may come back and average 20 points, we're still going to be looking at Tyrese Maxey saying he is still the guy. He's the young guy that we can really, really count on for him out there, even when the defense isn't necessarily there with the improvements. We still know that you have to count on him in order for them to win on the offensive end, both on the outside, on the inside, facilitating and distributing, doing those things, being that extra passer where he gets the hockey assist from all the things that he does. He has to now turn himself into that 1B to what Joel is as that franchise face. And secondly, for me, I know he wants all the calls. This is minor, but that stuff hurts because it's his confidence. I don't want to drive anymore because I'm not getting the call. My shot is not falling. And so if my shot is not falling, I've already taken myself and let the defense off the hook of not driving to the basket as much as I used to, or try to finish at the basket, because I'm not getting the calls that I believe I'm deserving of, or I'm actually getting hit and I should get the whistle. I'm not getting that. You are not Luka Doncic by any stretch where I'm saying you complain that much, but it's evident when we watch all 82 of him, where that becomes a thing that's in his head too many times, where it takes away from him being him and the player.
And I don't think the head coach has helped with this either. I think Nick is
the complaining to the official.
He's
part?
More of a complainer about officials than some other coaches, and I think that doesn't. I'm not saying that it should impact how the game is called, but we talk about this all the time. They're only human, right?
Sure.
And if guys feel like you're complaining for calls that aren't there, and it happens all the time, eventually you're just the boy who cried wolf. So whether it's Maxey, it's the head coach, it's whoever, you have to pick your battles, right? There are definitely times when he's gotten fouled and didn't get a call, and have that conversation. But that's also a thing that Joel has done a very good job of over the years, is doing the politicking on the side, like it's a timeout. Obviously, he had an incident this past season where he didn't do this, but it's more of you go up to the official and you talk to them. It's not just whining, complaining, screaming at the refs. I think that's definitely a thing that he's got to keep in mind.
He'll fall on the floor, Derek, and he's on the floor, and you can see him throw his arms up while on the floor because he fell to the floor and he probably got fouled. But it's 4-on-5 now the other way, and you've either had Joel on the floor or Andre Drummond, who can't get back, number one, and help out and maybe help hold things down until you sprint back, even with your speed. It just takes away from your overall confidence of what you can do out there on the floor.
Yeah. No, and it's a good point that, when someone is constantly complaining, you can tune them out. When Tim Duncan starts complaining, you listen because you go, oh, well, he probably, this isn't
unless
just a
you're
reaction.
Joey Crawford.
This isn't just a reaction from him. He doesn't do this every time down. It's more effective when it's selective. And Nick Nurse, Tyrese Maxey, neither of them.
And Tyrese used to be that way, and now he just, he does it a little bit more, and probably.
And you also brought up Devon, it'll be year 6 next year, right? And it's at the point where most of these guys, in his draft class, what they are or what they're going to be, right? Anthony Edwards is a certified star. LaMelo Ball, guy who's put up good numbers, but never stays healthy, and generally they aren't winning anything. Mm-hmm. It's not to say it's all his fault, but he's kind of in a make or break sort of moment here. Tyrese Halliburton, guy who now he's going back to the playoffs again, had a really tough start to the year. Obviously had a better and healthier team than the Sixers this year, but rallied after a really tough start and led that team. And frankly, he's probably going to get all NBA consideration.
Got to a conference finals last year too.
Made it to a conference final. So
you haven't.
You're at the point now. And Desmond Bane, we saw last night in Memphis, had an incredible game, albeit they lost, and he's been really good. Had a really awesome finish to the season. The point is mostly that at this point, we can set aside he was the 21st pick or whatever in the draft, and it was so nice to have him. He's one of the best players in his class, full stop. He's not being compared to Precious Achiuwa, to Pokashevsky, to Zeke Najee, like these guys in the range that he was taking.
He's a top 5 guy.
You are a top 5, maybe top 3 player in this class, depending on how you want to determine that. It's your time. It is the time for you to say, not only am I putting up the numbers, I'm going to go out there and win. I will drag these guys by their necks if I need to. I don't blame him for the record this year. It was a really difficult situation. But now I think he probably knows at this point. I don't think, like in his heart of hearts, I can't count on Joel. Joel might not be there. Paul is good still and had moments, but I don't know if he's going to be healthy. He's 35. Like, he has to come out with the mentality like, I'm the guy. And that encompasses everything. We've seen it with the leadership. We've seen it in how he plays. That's the challenge for him next year. It's just, it doesn't matter who's there, who's available, who's healthy. Like, find ways to get it done. I think he has the talent to do it, but he's got to do it.
All right. Tyrese Maxey. Still see it. Just got to do it again. One more. Well, a lot more, because you are the face of the franchise going forward. A lot more, though.
Until they get Cooper Flag and then move over to Tyrese.
Fair point. Fair point. Well, got to distribute a little bit more then, man. Got to pass the basketball. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Podcast P and get the thoughts on what Podcast P has to do in order to have a much better year than he did in his first year in the Sixers uniform. We'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And we got to tell you about, hey, in order for you to get some good work done in basketball, you got to have good flooring, right? Well, it's a different type of flooring, but the floor needs to be right. Needs to be perfect for you to go out there and execute everything you need to do. And that's exactly what Empire today wants to do for you, for your home. You want your home to be beautiful. And just like your favorite team needs a home court, field, ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire today can help you get that. Empire today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Those big box stores might not have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking the light bulbs tomorrow in that particular store. But you need to get to a store that focuses on what you need for your flooring to be right in your home. It's a big investment. You're going to have this home for a while. You want to make sure your flooring is right. Why is Empire today your best bet for a new floor? Well, lives and breathes flooring, as we mentioned, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ball game for you when you jump into Empire today. You get precise measurements taken and have all your questions answered, so there are no surprises when the flooring is complete and done, and it's all right. With Empire, you get clear, upfront, all-inclusive pricing, plus you can schedule installation as soon as the very next day. Schedule a free home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount by using code PHLY. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire today/PHLY for full details.
Folks, the cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patented ingredient in Timeline is Midipure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears our dysfunctional mitochondria, aka our cells' battery packs. With regular use, you'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, and more endurance. Midipure recharges your cells and helps your body's systems to work better, and Midipure is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. So get ready to be the best, most energized, most revitalized version of you. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of Midipure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. A quick super chat here from YTube. I've been on this process train before. I was married. Now I have a wife and 3 kids. LOL. I'm tired, fellas.
I mean, I'm tired too, but that's because I'm getting older and probably need to take some Midipure.
I was a lot younger and in much better physical condition and had not met my now wife. And listen, I'm with you, buddy. A lot has changed.
I will say I wouldn't compare what's going on now to the process, just because it is a 1 year, hopefully a 1 year dip in the lottery, not a sustained plan. Like what Sam Hinkie did unique is that they didn't feel like they had any urge to turn it around quickly. They were going to sit there and lose until they got a player they felt comfortable to build around. And this is not the case this time around.
Well, and we appreciate that, Y-Tube. And speaking of the rebuilding, as you talk about, we're going to hang out for the draft lottery party that will be on May 12th.
Yeah,
we're going to do
baby.
that right here at the studio for the PHLY Sixers Podcast Draft Lottery Party. You can join us, join the crew, 76ers diehards at the studios here for the lottery party. Food is included May 12th. The time will be determined because it's all based on their television programming of the NBA. But it will be a 2-hour event. We'll have a little show here as well to talk about whether they keep the pick or don't, and all the drinking that might happen thereafter if they don't. We'll do all that here at the studios.
Or if they do.
Or they do on May 12th. And with it, we would ask you to, if you haven't, because you must be a PHLY diehard member to join us here on that day, you must sign up now with the $36 NFL Draft Day live intro offer, $36. That's $3 a month to take advantage of all the writing from my guys here on the Sixers, Jim Salisbury on the Phillies. You have the Eagles guys.
Schwarber playing left field tonight, by the way.
Is he really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That's been.
Look at non-baseball Kyle dropping
Look at that.
news.
Like that.
See? I'm
Paying
like,
attention.
what's his name from Game of Thrones? I drink and I know things.
Tyrion.
I did.
There you go. I couldn't. I was blanking on his name. I didn't want to say Peter Dinklage.
The Eagles guys, all of them from Zach, Fran, Bo, Les Bowen, writing on the draft, the upcoming draft in the offseason. And Charlie, as the Flyer season winds down, you want to make sure you sign up. $36 intro offer for you. Become a diehard member at allphly.com. A member of the Sixers, but he didn't really show out as a diehard member for the Sixers this year. He had a lot of memorable things happen. It
He
was
was
more
dying out there, all right.
Yeah, he was. It was more off the court stuff, like saying that, things on this podcast or the Instagram photos that he had during the trade deadline. And when he got back from that, he's saying, we're playing for a championship, so I'm gonna stop podcasting here right now.
By the way, I am waiting for the mobile alert from the Podcast P show.
The return.
We're back.
The return.
And the teaser video. Oh, I will be reading those mentions.
How in the world is he going to handle this one? Well, anyway, I mean, needless to say, it wasn't a great start to his career, man.
Mm-hmm.
What does he need? Health, as we know.
Yeah.
But
well, health out of the way.
what does he need?
Thing.
I mean, what type of player are you looking for? He'll be a year older. He didn't play a lot, but he'll be a year older, and it just simply did not work. When he and Maxey were out there on the floor, he played 41, Maxey played 52. I haven't looked it up to see how many they actually played, but I'd imagine they played a pretty decent amount in that 41 and 52 together. And we only saw glimpses of what Paul George could look like.
So I'll skip past the obvious stuff, right? We would all agree he needs to make more shots. Like that is a fundamental underlying problem with what happened this year was he shot under 36% from three.
Mm-hmm.
And while you could say some of that was about the types of shots he took because of how the season unfolded, he also missed a good amount of open threes. Like they did at points get into the playbook and say, hey, we're going to run that I always harped on it, that flare screen play where it's Paul gets an open three on the left wing. He's getting good looks at it, and it just felt like he was never making those shots. So if we set all that aside, for me, the key for Paul George is he needs to be more deliberate. And what do I mean by that? Defensively, I'm sorry, buddy. You can't be hanging out on the fifth most important guy on the floor. And I know he's more of a roamer defender, right? His strengths are as a help guy, help side guy, being a weak side rim protector at times, getting into passing lanes. But there are just times when I need him to put his hand up and say, I'm taking one of the best assignments on the other team. We didn't see it enough. And I felt like it was an abdication of duty from him. And in the same realm, talked about this quite a bit during the season, when they are shorthanded, when it's him and Tyrese and a bunch of role players this year, if it's going to be a younger team, I need him to carry himself like the player that he is, which is a guy who's made 9 All-Star teams. He had made 2 consecutive All-Star teams and 3 in 4 years leading into signing with the Sixers. And he showed up as if it was just like, well, this is all just kind of happening to me, right? The mentality was just never there. We saw it against like the Charlotte Hornets, right? He really tore them up. Great job, by the way, tearing up the Charlotte Hornets of all teams.
Messed up the lottery odds.
Played a
really
did. Played a very good game against the Knicks when
twice.
it was Joel Embiid's return, and then he had another good game against them later. But by and large, it just never felt like he got out of first or second gear in a lot of these games and was content to just float through them. The team model that they have is just not built for Paul George to play that way. He has to just reset his mind and come in with a different approach this year. There will be some physical things that will help him. You presume that without knee injuries, maybe he's got a little bit more burst. Maybe he's able to get to the line more and do some things. Like, you can't say all of it is mental. Some of it is he's physically declining as he gets older, and maybe they need to run some more stuff for him. But just like we're talking about with Joel, if you have to start with Joel at come in career best shape, do all the things to help yourself, I need Paul George at a base level to carry himself like a third star. And when you are down to 2 stars, act like it. Be a first option, be a second option, and play with purpose instead of letting the games just kind of happen to you.
Yeah, it is. You know, on the one hand, I'm still curious how he would look if he actually played in the role. I think having him try to ramp up to being pick a different word, having him try to scale up to be a number 2
We
or
really
number
have
1
to
option.
flush ramp up somehow.
I'm trying. I don't think he's going to look great in that role from here on out.
Hit the like button. Yes, Paul George told you so.
You can bring up the knee injuries and the bone bruises that he had to start the season. That probably sapped some of his burst. I think most of the burst is that he's just 35, and this is where he is at this point. I don't want to rely on him trying to create off the dribble. I don't want to rely on him trying to create, frankly, all that much for himself. So if Joel Embiid is out, and I looked it up, they played 34 games together.
Okay.
If Maxey is out, I don't have faith that he is going to look good in that new role. Maybe 5 years ago he would have. He is not that player anymore. I'd like to see, because it feels like he did a lot more off-ball stuff with the Clippers than he did this past year. And I don't know how much of that is him, probably more on Nurse. I would like to see him running off of more screens. I would like to see him moving off ball more, repositioning more, trying to get open. Because at that point, you know, on the one hand, I think most of the shooting stuff is just random. I think he just missed a lot of shots that he will probably make going forward. I don't think that is so much physical. I don't think that is really anything other than sometimes you just have a down year. But if he is moving off ball and repositioning and finding, I'm not even talking like flying off of screens like JJ Redick, just something like Danny Green would do, old man Danny Green would do. If you are moving, if you're causing the defense to lose you, if you are then having them respect your shot, that will create driving lanes. I'm much more interested in that than like give him the ball, let him ISO, let him jab step, let him even go to the post and turn around. I don't want to see too much of that next year.
The one thing I think that also hurt him outside of everything that you guys said was I wonder how much once all 3 of them are back, 2 other players that might help out for him to not have to do those things, Jared McCain and Quentin Grimes, because they can take on some of that responsibility of creating.
They'll have a
their
lot
own
more
shots.
ball handling next year, entering the year.
Creating their own shots, getting their own, and even finding him for those spot ups that you're talking about of making those shots, being the cutter that we think that we've seen him be for his entire career, being that type of player. So I'm very curious of how much as they scale up in the overall who gets the responsibility of doing what when certain players are out there on the floor, how much that might help him when it does not require just a jump shot being made, but hey, quick decision on a pass from one of them because of the things that they've done in terms of putting the ball on the floor, or just simply making their own shots where you are not relying now on Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre to be those offensive hubs when the ball swings to them. Instead, now you have someone like Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, maybe a wing or a guard from the draft that you look to and say, hey, they can get it too. this way the responsibility doesn't fall on him all that much.
Yeah, I mean, he should be and is a very versatile offensive player, right? Like you can use him as either the ball handler or the screener in a pick and roll, pick and pop. You're not going to be a big role threat, but as a, setting ghost screens or doing things with the ball handler, and then you have him step into a three, like that's really appealing. As Derek said, doing more of the like Danny Green type, the relocation, operating in what used to be called the greenhouse because of Danny, right? Around the baselines and in the corner, just some constant movement, right?
It made me think, I'm sorry to cut you off, it made me think of last night when you tweeted out about Jimmy Butler just going right by Zach Edey last night. It made me think of that, but just finding that matchup where it's not going to be Zach Edey every night, but it might be someone like Steven Adams who gets caught up on the switch, or one of those other less mobile bigs where that then is when we see him put the ball on the floor and make that decision, even if it isn't resulting in a step back jump shot or something along those lines, or getting to the basket and finish, or drop off to someone else. That's the type of stuff that can work for him in spurts of games where it calls for that because of who he's matched up with.
Yeah, and I would agree with the sentiment that, like, I don't want to see him just ISOing all the time. That some of this is going to, we'll have another conversation about Nick and the coaching staff later, but like some of it has to come from schematics, right? And play design and roles and like everyone understanding and being on the same page, right? So it's not all on Paul, which is why I fall back to, I just need him to, like, there will be times in every game where you come in with your best laid plans, you have your, hey, this is our scout for this team and the matchups and whatnot, and we're going to try to go through player XYZ early. And I just feel like in year one, he defaulted too much to, well, this is how we were trying to play this team. And so that's just how I played the game, rather than, I would rather have seen him go, 8 for 24 than some of these games where he's shooting like 1 for 7 and just is uninvolved in the offense, right? If you shoot poorly, you shoot poorly, right? But at least show me that you're present and you're there and that you're putting yourself out there. I don't mind guys failing. I do mind when guys are just basically not trying to impact the game in the ways that they can.
While we were ticked off at his first game in the uniform, regular season against the Suns, with when he did it at the end.
I'll take that guy who wants the last shot.
That was my point.
Yeah.
That was my point, that when he did it was wrong. Of Tyrese Maxey had the hot hand, but the aggressive Paul George that we saw that night, that's the one that you want to see. If you hope you can see on a 100% more consistent
give me
basis.
that guy over the passive version.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks, we got to tell you as we get ready for just a couple of minutes of overtime. We're not going to stay too long. We got to tell you about the golf tournament that is in fact happening in June, the second annual PHLY Sports Liberty Open Golf Tournament. That's going to be at Valley Brook Country Club on June 14th at 2 p.m. Starting at 2, it's going to run through 7. It's a shotgun start. The tournament in itself is join the PHLY crew for our Die Hard Community Golf Tournament in 2025. You can sign up as a single, a foursome, a sponsor, just simply sponsor a hole on the tournament, and sign up includes overall. Hey, we got to say it, right? Because, they did it that way. But all of that, become a Die Hard member also, so you can make sure that you sign up to come hang out with some fellow diehards, hang out with all of us. This will be the first one that we can attend because we were not there because we were at Summer League and the Olympic stuff for last July when it took place. Bree was there to represent our show, and hopefully all 4 of us will be there.
Bree's
again.
the best.
Yes, she is. Hopefully all of us are there again. Rich, as the 5th member of the show. We'll see if Roy's going to be there.
I think Rich
will probably be playing because he likes the golf.
All right, so we'll be there. Hope to see you there. June 14th, second annual PHLY. Again, the Open. Look at that. The PHLY Liberty Open. Second one. Look, we're here. We're going to, and Kyle and Purple Heart are going to look like they're going to get drunk and need rides home.
All right, I'll at least be having beverages. We'll say that.
There you go. It's overtime here on
What
the
would it
PHLY.
take for you guys to play?
I'm going to play. I just got to get right. Me and Jack do all that. Thanks on the TV side. On the fast side, join us at allphly.com to finish out the rest of the show.
Can you actually play?
Jack can, yeah.
No, you.
Oh, no, no. I was getting there before, the Achilles.
I was good as a kid, and Derek, we've had this conversation. Golf hit my rule where it's more frustrating than fun, and so I stopped playing.
That was the thing for me when he was first. I'm like, I feel like I'm athletic enough where I should be able to figure this out, and I can't, and it's bothering me. And
I give people who are really good at golf, I give a ton of credit because it's as much a mental sport as it is a physical one, and being out there, and it's a great feeling when you strike a ball well, and it's like, man, I put that within like 5 feet of the hole or whatever. When I was a kid, I could like barely hold the clubs, and I almost hit a hole in one on an island green down in South Carolina playing with my dad. And it was like one of the coolest things ever. But when you play enough, it's like, nah, this isn't for me, man. I'd rather just hang in the clubhouse and watch other people do it. And it's a good time though. Playing golf if you go with a group and hang out with people, put together a foursome for the tournament, you will have a good time. That is
it always
guaranteed.
cracks me up because me and my two brothers have tried to just not even really play golf, just go to driving ranges. My one brother swings it like a hockey stick, and I swing it like a baseball bat. Neither of them works out.
I'm the baseball bat. That's how I couldn't get tennis. You play tennis, right?
I do play tennis.
Yeah. See, that was my problem with
That's
tennis.
my lifetime. I actually decided tennis is my lifetime sport. So that's why golf I was able to give up. I was like, you know what? I'm 75 with creaky knees, and I'll play a little bit of. When I say play tennis, it's mostly just walking. But that was my grandfather played tennis pretty late into his life, so I think I
hope, knock on wood for you too. I hope I can be playing basketball. Maybe not in the 70s, although I do know a guy who plays in the 70s. Yeah. But certainly into the 50s and 60s, I'd like to still hoop a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be playing in my 70s. My grandpa was like member of the month at his gym until he was like 88. So.
Yeah, man.
That ain't me.
Requires a little bit of luck.
I'm out there, man. Rothman, lifetime membership for me, man. I'm out there because I can't help myself. All right, let's get the Daily Tankathon spin in.
We did one.
We did one.
Oh, you want another one?
You got to do the other one.
6 wasn't good enough, huh? You got to give me another chance to fail.
Got to do that one for today.
Another chance to succeed. Glass half full.
63.9% chance.
All right, let's see what we got here. Got the number 3 pick. Oh, he did it again.
He lost 2 in a row.
No, my second spin got third.
Well, technically that was so the loss was yesterday's spin. Today's spin was 3.
Okay. There you go.
All right, VJ or Ace? Another temp check on
I'm going Ace right now.
I think I'm with you, but I do not feel good about it.
I'm going VJ.
Okay.
I'm still VJ.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be mad at either, but I'm going Ace on that one. Quick updates on the play-in last night. Orlando advanced as the 7th seed, so they're going to take on the Boston Celtics in the NBA playoffs. The Atlanta Hawks have to play the winner of tonight's matchup, which will be Chicago hosting Miami, and figure out who's the 8th seed. On the west side, Golden State took down Memphis. So Golden State's going to play Houston while Memphis should figure it out with the Sacramento-Dallas play-in tonight. So have at it, everybody.
They fire their coach just to not make it through the play-in. Boy.
That'd be fun times, man.
Be interesting.
Fun times for them. And one more, we got a guy who, no, we'll save that one for later for another conversation.
All right.
We're there. So let's get to the world famous roll call.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. As always, I see some chatter about tennis and golf in the comments. I hope that means you're going to show up to the PHLY Liberty Open in June. Check out that events tab.
See you there.
Hello, and thank you to PHLY, to Scott Sotan, to Joaquin.
What up, Joaquin?
From Cherry Hill. Not to be confused with any of the other Joaquins out there.
That's right.
He's our Joaquin.
That's right.
We got Brian Knight,
Bootzilla,
Boots, my girl Winona, hey, Jess with the purple heart.
She got the purple heart.
Val.
Hey, Val.
Jesse Bond. Also, Winona made an appearance as another account in here briefly. I believe her AKA is Philly Girl. So,
okay.
Hello also to Philly Girl.
2 times.
Hello to Mary Overfield, to Igavini.
What up, Igavini?
Devon Givens, who's that guy? To Slade. I saw DC Marley in here. We did discover that Burna Boy. It was, what's the name of the song by Burna Boy for a Dembona?
Hold on, let me double check for Wawa while you're in there. The song was, we see how we go a little further for you and get this information. It says, Yay Burner Boy.
Yay by Burna Boy. So DC Marley, if you did not discover that for yourself yet, Devon got to the bottom of it.
Got to it.
Thank you also to DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream.
To Slade.
What up, Slade?
Mellow 3-point.
Mellow, my
To
man.
Darkness.
Turn the lights down.
To our super chatter of the day, YTube.
For the Memphis Grizzlies. Turn
Thank
the
you,
lights
YTube.
out. Couldn't handle
Kevin
it.
Hips. Not to be confused with Kevin Shins or Kevin Elbows. We got Yams in here.
What up,
we got
Yams?
INS. That's as far up as I can scroll, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And please hit the thumbs up button to give a big shout out and thank you to our super producer, Bree, who, as we just said, when we couldn't be there at the golf tournament last year, Bree was there to make sure that we were represented, because Bree is as much, if not more, a part of this show than any of us up here yapping for an hour every day. So thank you for being here. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. because we're there every day, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. 6 straight months until the Sixers are back. See you tomorrow at 3. Thanks for hanging out.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.